I'm not going to spoil it, but she's very good at conveying her emotions, but also making you like not feel bad about it. So I think she handled that really well, and they like remain friends.
All right, and you're locked into another episode of the Anzu and podcast. My name is Josh, and we are in part 2 of our anime roundtable special. If you guys haven't heard part 1, we encourage you to go back and listen to it. A lot of great conversation, and we're expecting the same tonight with our group for the roundtable. But before we get things underway, let me go ahead and bring in my wife, Rebecca.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here, as always.
And Rebecca, you've had a very busy day in the kitchen.
It has been a busy day of meal prepping. I made a frittata for breakfast throughout the week, and I made enchiladas and oh my gosh, what else? Oh, pot roast for tonight and roasting veggies now. It smells amazing, actually. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot going on.
Yeah, and you had a bit of a snafu right before recording.
Oh my gosh, yes. I had this beautiful linen outfit. So nice. I planned my eyeshadow to go with it. And I was checking the meat because it was cooking in a crock pot. And I was like, let me taste this meat. I went to go taste it, and it dropped back into the liquid and splattered all over what I had on. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're recording in like 15 minutes. I gotta be ready. So I was like, okay, what can I put together really quick that still goes with the eyeshadow theme? So frustrating.
Well, it's like the old saying goes, when we make plans, God is up in heaven saying, I don't think so.
He likes our plans too, I think.
Yeah.
Plans are good.
Oh, gosh. But as I said earlier, we are in part 2 of our anime roundtable event special. And so I'm going to bring in our guests for tonight. First off, we had this we had this uh, we had this young lady with us about a couple months ago, talking about Demon Slayer, the Swordsmith arc. So please welcome Slay from Cosplay and Slay.
Hey guys.
Yeah, welcome. Glad to have you back again.
Yes, very glad.
Excited to be back.
And this, our other guest, we have had her on twice because we love having her on the podcast. She's wonderful, creative, wonderful author. So, author of the Vending Portal, we have Judy Liu.
Hi there. Thanks again for having me. Always such a fun time here.
Well, we enjoy having you as well, and thank you so much for making time to come out and join us for the roundtable.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have people that we've previously had on the podcast before be able to come back. So I'm so glad to all of everyone who's participated in the roundtable that they want to come back. So that's really nice.
Absolutely. So we're going to start things off with our discussion. Again, as we did last episode, it's going to be very informal, discussion based. Anybody can jump in at any point. Again, just be respectful when, somebody's still talking about their topic and whatnot. Kind of just, wait until, there's a pause. Judy, how about you go first?
I feel like I was a student in class and you were like calling on me, even though there's just two of us. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Romantic Killer, which is I think streaming on Netflix. I'm sure it's on Crunchyroll. I don't know. Have any of you three watched it yet?
We have, yes.
Yeah, we watched it. Yeah.
Okay. And let me just preface this. Before you go into your topic, kind of give a short synopsis of the show, just for those who may not be familiar with it.
Yes, will do. And I saw Slay say no. But yeah, I haven't seen it. So Romantic Killer it's a high school slice of life almost. With like some magic, I guess. And basically, you have this high schooler who is just living her high school best life. She's really into video games. She loves her cat. She loves chocolate. Romance is the last thing on her mind, other than maybe playing like a video game simulation, like those dating simulations. If we all know about it, like I feel like think about that Popeyes game. I think there's like a Popeyes dating simulation game. If anyone's familiar with it, I've heard crazy things about that. But
Like
Like
Popeyes,
eat
the
spinach, Popeye?
or
no,
the
no, like,
the chicken
oh, sorry,
place.
not Popeyes, KFC.
Oh, okay.
Oh, a food place. Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Well, that's what I thought of.
Dating sim?
Is there the cartoon or the chicken
Oh.
Yeah,
place?
my bad. I got the fried chicken places mixed up. But no, it's KFC, and it's like Colonel Sanders, and just
He's
look
the
it
love
up.
interest?
So you date Colonel Sanders?
I think you're being trained, but like he says some pretty like suggestive things. I don't know. And there's
Oh.
arts all over the place too. So I've heard funny things about it. But anyway, so she's not into romance except for simulation games, and she's starting one. The whole show starts with her starting one, and this little magical bean pops out of the screen. Um, and the magical bean is like, "Oh, I'm a magician. My name is Riri, and I'm here to help you find romance." And then she takes away all the things that this main character loves and tells her that I will only give you back the things that you love if you fall in love. Um, so the main character gets really upset, and so she tries everything to foil these plans to fall in love while this magical being is like throwing her very handsome men. So that's the whole premise.
It sounds a bit crazy when you say it like that, right?
I know. I'm like, wow.
It's so good though.
Interesting though. I want to watch it now. It's great. And it's like, it's so cute because they're high schoolers. So it just like feels very wholesome. And it's just really funny because they play on a lot of the like romance tropes, right?
Yeah.
Running into people. And she's like, wait a second, am I about to run into someone? Like, so they play into the romance tropes and she's trying to like dupe it. So it's very funny. It's cute.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when we were watching it earlier. Gosh, it was like probably around Thanksgiving is when we were watching it last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we enjoyed it. I was kind of iffy about it when I saw the promo, but I'm glad we did it.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I was iffy about it at first too. I'm so glad that Josh and Rebecca have watched it because I feel like most people haven't watched it. I mean, the name of it is not very enticing. Like Romantic Killer is not a
Yeah.
very enticing name, so a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, but I mean, other than the comedic stuff, I think it shows a lot of really great relationship things as well. Like a lot of different relationships in there, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Um, and I think it also really highlights like platonic love,
Mhm.
which, I mean, our whole media is very saturated with romantic love, which is fine.
Right.
It's trendy and it's lovely, but like to see this highlight like more platonic love was also really nice as well. So I really enjoy the show.
Now, regarding different relationships, romantic relationships, platonic, um, out of the characters, which relationship were you most attracted to in the show?
Yeah, that's a really great question because there's so many really good ones. I think the relationship between honestly I think the relationship between so maybe I should introduce the characters.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a main character girl, her name is Anzu. We have the magical bean whose name is Riri. Um so these are our two main protagonists, and then we have handsome man number one. Handsome man in Japanese is ikemen. So ikemen number one, who's Kazuki, very smart guy, very handsome. All the girls swoon over him. And then we have the childhood friend, right? The childhood friend love interest, Junta. And then this like short king. He's a short king. He's rich.
He is. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I think his name is like Hijiri or something. And then we have like all these side characters. I think the relationship between Anzu and Ikemen number one, Kazuki is really nice. I think by the end of the season, Kazuki catches feelings, but Anzu like doesn't really have feelings for any of them. She acknowledges that they're all very handsome, but she's like she doesn't really have romantic feelings for any of them. So I think throughout the series, I really do like that relationship between Kazuki and Anzu because they start off as friends, and it's very much like they're bantering. They also help each other out. They spend time together. He's killing roaches for her. Like it's like these acts of kindness and graciousness. Um, that don't necessarily have to be romantic. Like he gives her an umbrella, which is usually kind of romantic, right? But like it's like things like that. And then as the story develops, like the characters get deeper, and you realize Kazuki has had like a very kind of traumatic middle school experience. He has a stalker, basically. So I thought that was also very interesting about the series, where they touch on that, like even from like a male perspective, like what that's like to have a stalker, and um, what he went through, and then his relationship with his family as well is very interesting. But he has a traumatic experience, and he opens up to Anzu about it, and like they like she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you a hug. Like it's all very like supportive. And even as a friend, he was like, oh, I feel like it's too dangerous for you to hang out with me because my stalker is now coming after us. I know, so many spoilers. And she's like, no, like you're my friend. You shouldn't be changing your life and what you want because of this one person. And so like the amount of support she shows him, I think Anzu as a character, although flawed on the surface, she's a very good friend. Like she has a similar experience with one of her girlfriends who um she was, oh, maybe we should have done like a trigger warning. But she was assaulted. Um and or a guy made a move on her she didn't want. And then when they went to school, he spread rumors, right, that she had like done these things and like punched him or whatever. And Anzu, the main character, was like, why do you all believe this? Like, this is not who she is. And so, as a friend, she's just a really supportive friend who believes in you and like really stands up for what's right. Um, so I think honestly, all the relationship Anzu has with everyone are very interesting to me. But I think between her and Kazuki came in number one was really nice. It was heartwarming. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you guys thought, Rebecca and Josh. I guess since y'all watched it.
So for Romantic Killer, I know when we were watching it, it's not the type of the word I'm trying to think of, the speed, the natural progression. It's not what you think. Whereas, okay, these two people are, they're getting to know each other. They're gonna fall instantly attracted. But Anzu is kind of like the wild card in all this, where she just has no interest. And she just had chocolate, her pet, and video games. She's content. But Riri is making her go out of her comfort zone. So you need to develop relationships. You can't just be what they call a neat in all this. And when you were talking about this guy who was making um, lies and rumors about one of Anzu's friends, it makes me think of a show that we started last night called Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. It's on Crunchyroll, and it's about this girl named it's Anne, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and her just spoiler, her mom has died, and she wants to become this confectioner, and she gets help from this fairy guardian, and she has this one supposedly male friend, not anymore, but a few episodes in, called Jonas, and
Well, don't say too much,
yeah,
Josh.
well, an incident happens.
Some people haven't seen it.
Well, an incident happens, and we're both thinking at that point, it's like, wow, Jonas, he's a real POS. So For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a fun little show so far. But yeah. Rebecca, what are your thoughts regarding the romantic killer and the different relationships?
Well, as far as like different relationships, Junto was the most confusing because he just came out of nowhere, honestly. It was like she didn't even remember she had a childhood friend. Like, what? Was this real? Is this like is this just being made up for that Riri just made this happen? There's like some weird tie somewhere in there, but that one just really threw me off. I was like,
Yeah, it was
okay.
super weird. I agree. And like he knew these things about her childhood and she was like, "Who are you?" But I think later though they say that he actually was her childhood friend, but he just like changed a bunch, right?
Right,
Right.
right. But that's what was so confusing. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Judy, that the that first guy, I don't remember his name, but he was really who what was it?
Kazuki?
Kazuki.
Mm.
Yes, Kazuki. He was so interesting and complex.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the all the effort that went into his character and the layers that he had, and then the main protagonist and what she was able to offer, and that really deep relationship. I feel like sometimes it can be kind of surfacey in a lot of animes, and they don't at least with like relationships like that can be a slice of life. But this actually really went deep, which was good. And I kind of like that she hasn't really chosen anybody. Like I don't know, I kind of feel like she was starting to get one way towards one of the characters, um but yeah, it was just very, I don't know, very focused on getting out of your comfort zone. It was like showing people who are afraid to get out of their comfort zone and try something new what it's like. Like, hey, it's actually pretty fun. Yeah, it's scary, but you build up a support system and turns out it's not so bad.
I think you said it so well, Rebecca, in that like it really like the main theme was kind of like about getting out of your comfort zone. Like for Anzu, it was to kind of start talking to people basically because she wasn't talking to people because all she did was video games and pet her cat. So for her, it was talking to people. For Kazuki, he came in number one. It was like standing up for himself and making a life for himself after his traumatic experience and being himself again, I guess, right? Because like after his experience, he became closed off, and then through Anzu and his new school, he like got to smile again and things like that. And then I don't know if Junta, he came in number two, childhood friend, has approached his yet because I think maybe his version of that would be like to profess his affection for Anzu maybe, but right now he like wants to stay the childhood friend. But people keep pushing him. They're like, you should do it, you should do it. So yeah, but no, I agree with you. I really enjoy the fact that she hadn't chosen anyone. And I don't know. I haven't read any of like the manga or anything, so I don't know how it ends up. I really hope she doesn't, but I'm sure she'll probably end up choosing someone because I agree with you. I think she was leaning towards someone. Um, yeah. Oh, actually, speaking of just like other options, there was this random option not produced by the magical bean. It was the other childhood friend, but he's kind of like I think in Japanese they would call him like a Yankee. Like he's kind of just like it was that friend who cheats on his girlfriends and like he's just kind of like out there if you remember.
I don't. It's been a little bit, but I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this one friend who was a childhood friend and they like meet up later and he still likes her, but he's kind of like he like, it doesn't seem like he takes school seriously.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of like the bad kid
Yeah,
or
he's like a bad
whatever. I
boy.
remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's had a crush on her for the longest time, but he's kind of like the tsundere thing where he's like mean to her, but he likes her, like that kind of stuff. Um, but I think she handled rejecting him really well. Because like they kind of have a heart to heart, and she's like, oh yeah, like I'm not going to spoil it, but she's very good at conveying her emotions, but also making you like not feel bad about it. So I think she handled that really well, and they like remained friends. That was I thought that was also a really really cool moment because I don't think they show, at least in the animes I've watched, I don't think they show rejection really well, and it's hard when we reject someone. It's hard, um, and yeah, I thought she did it really well. So
Yeah. Yeah, when you were talking earlier about the complexity of the characters, it made me it made me think about how frustrating it is for like popular media. I don't know, just things that we're told that there's like two halves of a whole, that like one person is one half and the other person is the other half. When they come together, it's magical. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's two whole people with all of their stuff that comes with them. And then, you come together and you can make something new and beautiful that is also whole. And yeah, so I think the show does a really good job at picturing the wholeness of individuals.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there is no like, oh, you complete me. Oh, you're my peanut butter to my jelly. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
I always
yeah.
think of the scene in, oh my gosh, Lion King 2, where
Oh,
it's Kovu and Kiara,
yeah.
and there's like half of her face is blurred out, and then you got half of his face, and they come together to form a whole face. And you're like, okay, that's not how it works. I get the sentiment, but
That's good. Judy, any other remarks regarding romantic killer or the different types of relationships there within?
Yeah, I mean, so other than like the front facing relationships between Anzu and all these EK men and friendships and stuff, you also have in the background the family relationships. So kind of to what Rebecca said earlier about just how complex Kazuki, EK man number one, is. Um, he also has like a pretty, it suggests a complicated relationship within his family. So he has a sister and then he has a mom and a dad. So I think they also touch on family relationships very quickly because it's just in the background. But you see how, I mean, him and his sister seem really close. She's an older sister and she seems to, she'll try to defend him. She seems to be the one that speaks up more. I feel like in sibling dynamics, there's usually one that speaks up more and one that's a little more quiet, maybe. And then the relationship with his dad. So his dad seems, he's like the stoic type who doesn't seem to be very emotionally attuned to stuff, which might be like a stereotypical dad thing in a lot of like animes and stuff, but I'm sure it exists too. And he basically gaslights Kazuki for a lot of things. Like things happen to him, Kazuki goes through a lot with that lady who's giving him attention he doesn't want. And like, I mean, she was like following him around. She was sending him clothes in his size. And at some point, she broke into their house as well. So it's pretty intense. But the whole time, the father showed like zero support for Kazuki, like never asked him for his side of the story. He blamed him. He was like, wow, you led her on. Which I think also happens a lot in real life where, like, something happens and they're like, oh, you led them on. And you're like, what? I think it happens to a lot of like, victims as well. So like for them to show that, I thought was like, oh, that's realistic. So that relationship and how that pushed Kazuki to move out and away. There was no resolution of that because that's not the main story. But I thought that was a relationship, like it wasn't all warm and fuzzy. There was like another relationship there. But the mom and the sister seemed really supportive. And then at some point, Anzu stands up to Kazuki's dad and she's like, can't you see he needs you? Like, the point is not like, it is not his fault at all. And I think that's what a lot of people tend to do is we tend to blame ourselves. I think, at least I do, I tend to blame myself for like a lot of maybe interactions gone wrong, or I'm like, oh my gosh, did I offend them? I think sometimes I'm not an expert in this, but I've read like sometimes victims like blame themselves as well. And like at the end of the day, it's like, oh, having that friend stand up for you and tell you it's not your fault is really validating. And so I thought, yeah, that whole web there was a nice inclusion, I think. So yeah, I think other than just like the top level friendships and stuff we saw, like some of the family dynamics going on were really interesting to see. And then Anzu's family themselves, like they seem to be a very healthy family. So that was nice to see. Yeah.
Representation of both types of family.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's great. Awesome. Well, Romantic Killer, I'm hoping it gets a second season. There certainly was room for it. But what is getting a second season, and by the time that this episode comes out, it'll already have premiered, is Spy Family. So, Slay, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so I chose Spy X Family Talk About. It's like one of my favorite animes for sure. And I mean, I love Anya. Sweater for tonight. But I also really love Yor. And do you want me to do like a background on Spy X Family?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So you have Lloyd Forger, who is a spy, and he has to form a family for his next mission in order to try to get closer to someone. And they say the only way he can do it is if he gets a family. So he goes to an adoption center and ends up with Anya, who is a telepath and can read everybody's minds. So later on, he runs into Yor, who was formerly Briar. And as soon as Anya realizes that she is an assassin, she loves the idea and starts kind of trying to get them to talk more. Eventually, the two of them kind of form this plan, and she ends up being the mom, but she has no idea that he is a spy, and he has no idea that she's an assassin. So Anya's the only one who knows, which I think is really funny. But they enter into this fake marriage, becomes Yor Forger, and the show was kind of about the rest of their missions and stuff. It was really cute. But I really think it's interesting because Yor, as the show kind of starts going on, she really doubts, I feel like, a lot of her abilities to be a wife and a mom. And I think that that's really interesting. She starts off with like, I can't cook. That's one of her big downfalls. And it's a comedy in the show because it's like she literally cannot cook and is like burning stuff left and right. And, but she keeps running into these things and really thinks that she, isn't a good wife and isn't a good mom. And the thing that I feel like really stood out to me was she is the perfect mom and the perfect wife because of her skills. And so within the first season, a couple different times, whether it's because of Lloyd's work or other scenarios that just kind of happen, Anya ends up in these situations where people are trying to kidnap her or go after her. And Yor will defend Anya and protect Anya. And she ends up being like the perfect one because she's able to do that. And I think that's really cool. And to me, I think it really shows how God can use us and our circumstances and our brokenness because she's using, these skills that she has, and she's able to save Anya. Because if Lloyd had got any other woman off the street, literally, they wouldn't have been able to protect Anya the way that Yor was. And so her abilities actually end up being like a really big asset, even though she never realizes it. And she's the one that's able to really protect her and be there for her. And Anya really looks up to her for it. she's asking her to teach her how to do it. And I think that that's really cool. So
Yeah, Yor is such a big influence for Anya because she goes. Anya offers her advice when Anya starts going to this esteemed school, and so when one of my friends is like, "Oh, just smile," and we all see that Anya smile,
yes.
uh, but she's like, "Mama's advice doesn't help at all." And then the dodgeball episode
Oh, yes.
where she is, training, and Yor just takes this ball and like it just goes light speed past all these trees in the park. And Anya tries to do it, and you think it's gonna be this like monumental thing. You got the star galaxy in the background. This guy going and he's like,
Yes.
but yeah, but so as you said, Yor does doubt a lot of her abilities. She has second thoughts even about being a mom and a wife to this this forged family. But throughout, she starts to gain confidence as she goes on these missions, as she gets to new heights and new accomplishments, being with Lloyd. And there's this scene between Yor and this other woman. I forget her name, but
Nightfall.
Nightfall, because Nightfall is obsessed with Lloyd. She wants to be in the relationship, and they battle it out, and Yor wins, and she goes to Lloyd looking for the audition. It's like, Lloyd, did you see? I beat her. And
that was the tennis match, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, Rebecca, well, actually, Judy, what are your thoughts regarding, you have this person that, we think is broken, but God, kind of like pulls them up from, the dust and says, no, you're okay. You may be rough around the edges, but you're okay. You're loved. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I love that we're talking about this topic, and I think what Slay mentioned about like, yeah, your feeling like she's not good enough is something I think is really relatable for all of us. Whether it's like, taking care of your pet or like a child or whatever. Imposter syndrome. Like I have that as an author. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough. When really, like Slay said, like, oh, like we do have all these other skill sets that um lift us up. And so like in that way, I think like I agree, like God works in very interesting ways where maybe he puts us in situations that makes us uncomfortable or things that we would have never expected. Um but really it's, maybe a growth opportunity, or it's his way to remind us that like no, like we can do this. Because I guess if we were comfortable forever, like if Yor never got into this fake marriage and like had Anya as her, adopted child, she would have never known that she could be more than an assassin and like a secretary or whatever her day job was. I don't remember. um so yeah, I think, I never thought about that for Spike's family. I was just like enjoying the ride, but I'm like, wow, wait, that is a really great message on being put into that situation and feeling like we're not enough.
Right.
Only to, eventually realize like, oh, actually I can do this. And God sometimes puts us in those situations on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you mentioned growth opportunities. For anybody who's ever seen Evan Almighty, there's a scene with Morgan Freeman, and the line goes something like, when people pray for patience, does God automatically grant them patience, or does He give them opportunities to be patient? So I think it tends to be the latter. But yeah, absolutely agree with Judy, with both you and Slay. We're put into we're made not to be comfortable. We're made to be uncomfortable, and that gives us opportunities for growth. Because otherwise, you'd just be content. You would be in the same place year after year, day after day, and not gaining anywhere. Um, so that's exactly, Lord, Lord took that leap of faith, and now look where she is. Rebecca, your thoughts?
I agree with everything, of course. But yeah, it's so easy to feel like you're not enough, to doubt yourself. I think pretty much everybody can relate to that on some level. And yeah, she's so much stronger than she thinks that she is. She can't see her strengths, even though Anya can, you know? And even Lloyd, he can see what she offers. And it's the people around us that see our strengths. We're the ones who don't see them. And uh we need people to tell us and be able to work that through with us. So I've been going to school recently, went back to school to get my master's degree in clinical mental health. And we had to do something called an intensive, which is where you go on campus for a week and you take class, basically do a class, and it's intense, as it is anyway. The teacher, while we were there, was like, all right, I've got a counseling joke for you guys. And she said, how many therapists, counselors, and psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? We paused for a moment. She said, only if the light bulb wants to change can it be changed. Yeah, I thought that was good. But I think that the principle, of that joke applies. Like, we have to see it for ourselves. We have to want the change to be able to see it. Because I mean, when someone can tell you every day, all day, you're beautiful, you're amazing mom, you're an amazing wife, but if you don't believe it, then it's kind of just going to go in one ear and out the other. And so taking that time to really, really listen to what people have to say, and then only then will you start to believe it, I think, if you really want to see yourself in a different way, which can be really hard. And digging into maybe, why do you feel like you are a failure? Why do you feel like you have nothing to offer? Is there something else going on with all of that? But yeah, yours so strong. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Slay, anything else regarding the topic of feeling like you're not enough, or anything else regarding the Sly family you'd like to discuss?
Yeah. No, just to bounce off a little bit what Rebecca said, I feel like too it's also digging into like who God says you are too, like really believing that. Like that's really what it comes down to a lot of times. And I think that can be hard to see, and we see so many, I don't know, examples, I feel like, in the Bible too, of people like who God is saying you can do this and they still doubt, like Moses, right? Whenever he goes and God's like, you need to go tell him, and he's like, I can't do that. It's like God's telling him to do it, and we still doubt even when we know God is with us.
Always
And
makes me think of that scene from The Prince of Egypt. Is if we were to use it in today's language, it's like, well, you don't believe me? Who made the deaf, the mute, the blind? Did not I? Now go.
yep. Yeah. Uh, so but back to like Spy X Family and all of that. I think, yeah, she does eventually, I think, start to realize, she has some strengths. She still does, I feel like, always go back and forth with her struggles some. But I do think Lloyd eventually does start to see like the strengths and everything that she can bring to the table too. Especially Anya. Anya from the very beginning said, "Whoa, she's an assassin!" Like, even though Anya just thought it was cool, she saw the potential that Yor had to bring. Maybe also a little bit of chaos because that's who Anya is. But I thought it's cool that Anya can see that and appreciates that and really does see Yor for who she is. And she'll, even if Yor can't cook and do all the normal things that she thinks she should be able to do, Anya still really appreciates her for what she can do. So.
Yeah, Yor breaks a lot of stereotypes of women, I guess. And and it brings up the question of like, what does make a good mom? Is it the cooking and the cleaning and the things that you typically think about what moms do? Mm-hmm. And I mean, she kind of proves like, no, that's not what really makes up a good mom. It's being present. It's, being there and available and helping to teach and everything.
Exactly. And I feel like that's what Yor does. She steps in and she enjoys it. She realizes throughout all of it, like she really does care for Anya. It's not just an act anymore. She really does care about Anya and cares about protecting her. And like you said, teaching her, I think there's times where she's, no matter what, called her brother to come over and tutor Anya. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, to kind of, well, first of all, thank you both for being a part of this roundtable. What we're gonna do is, Rebecca and I, we're actually gonna not talk about My Happy Marriage. We're actually gonna save that for a future episode, just so we can discuss it at length. So, again, sorry to the previous roundtable. You guys are gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that. And so is everyone else.
Our ploy to get you to continue listening.
But we'll end with what Slay and Judy, what are you guys currently watching, playing, reading, what have you? And Slay, we'll have you go first.
So I do keep up with Spy X Family. So I am pretty much caught up on the manga. So I try to read that. I've been a little sad because usually they do like every 2 weeks and they took like a 4-week break. So I'm still waiting for the next chapter, but it should be next week. So that's exciting. As far as what I've been watching, we've been watching Masamune's Revenge, which is kind of interesting because when you guys were talking about Romantic Killer and the friend that just kind of like appeared, that's actually what it kind of reminded me of, even though I feel like it's not the same thing. Have you guys seen Masamune's Revenge?
No, we have.
You've seen it? Okay.
Number 1, there's a second season out.
Yes. Yeah, so we watched the first season and now we've been watching through the second season.
What's it about again? Apparently I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so the first season really focuses on the Masamune. He's trying to get revenge on like his childhood friend that he was like in love with because she said something really mean to him, and so he's like changed. He's gone through like this big blow up, and his whole thing is I'm gonna make her fall in love with me and I'm gonna break her heart. And so it's kind of following his story, and it's really interesting. But yeah, that's what made me think when you said the best friend just like showed up and it was like, who are you? And all those different things. So, but I think it's really cute. The second season's been really good. So we've been watching that. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Link Click's the other one we just started. That's actually been really good.
We've heard a bit about Link Click. That is it's in Mandarin, right?
Yeah, I think it's
okay.
It is. But yeah, it's really interesting. We watched all the first season and now we're in the second season too, and I'm excited to watch more. Like it took off at the end of the first season. Like it was really interesting the whole time, and then like the last little bit, it just really took off. It was like, whoa, there's a lot going on. It was really interesting. So
yeah. Awesome. All right, Judy.
Yeah. So I'm also watching My Happy Marriage. Um,
What do you
uh,
think so far?
I feel so bad for the main character girl,
Oh
like
yeah.
how she was treated, but I really love it so far. I'm like, wow, it's a blossoming, it's a slow romance, and I'm like, oh wow. And now it turns out, oh wait, am I allowed to give spoilers or something or not?
Slay, have you seen it?
I have not, but I really want to because I've heard all good things about it. So it's on my watch list.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
maybe no spoilers
Yeah.
then.
no
It's
spoilers.
good.
But yeah, I like it so far. Yeah. So that one, but unfortunately, it's not like, it's coming out like week by week, so I have to wait. So other than that, obviously Jujutsu Kaisen, been keeping up. And then I recently finished the second season of No Doubt in Us. I like totally forgot about it until Josh said that anime that Slay was watching was in Mandarin, but this one's in Mandarin. Yeah, and I think it's based off of like online novels. And it's like historical, it's set in historical like China times, emperor and empress. And it's the classic like body swap thing. Um
Oh, I think I started watching, and I
okay.
think why didn't I finish or continue?
I
Oh,
think
it was a really interesting art style.
yes,
Mhm.
I agree. The art style is very interesting. It's different from like Japanese anime.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's a very nice way to phrase it, Rebecca. When I first saw it, it threw me off. I was like, what is this?
And that may have been why I
Well,
didn't continue.
it's like what was it? The girl I like forgot her glasses. Tried to watch a couple episodes, but it's by the production company Go Hands, and if you're familiar with their work, every scene has to be avant-garde. So it's like these different mixtures of mediums, and it's honestly it kind of gives you a headache after a while.
Yeah, I couldn't. It was too weird, that show.
The OP is great if it just wasn't for everything else.
Yeah, it was like they took someone wearing glasses to a whole new level, and it was just weird. I don't know. It was strange.
Awesome. Well, everybody knows what we've been watching. Pretty much the same as last week, so nothing's changed much over that. Except we have started a new series that we mentioned earlier, which is
Yeah.
Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. So
It's so good so far.
yeah,
It's really cute. We were trying to find something after finishing My Happy Marriage that would give us like the same vibes. And everywhere that I looked online, they were like, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. You should watch that one. And so we finally did. And it's very good. It's very good.
Oh my gosh, now you put that on my list because
I know.
there's the vibes I want.
nice, awesome. Well, once again, we thank our guests, Cosplay and Slay and Judy Liu, for being with us on our second roundtable event. Remember, we also do a video portion of the podcast. That is where you'll get the full conversation as opposed to the edited podcast audio version. And you can also follow us on our socials. Again, Facebook, not Twitter, is X now, and Instagram. Until next time, keep those halos shiny and stay holy, my friends.